What is good, everybody? Welcome back to Draft Nerds. We're back again this week for a prospect profile. We've already done Jordan Tyson and Carnell Tate at the wide receiver position. We're going to talk about the last of the big three, which is Makai Lemon here from USC. Now, I did watch 5 games of film. I'm going to talk to you guys about the strengths and weaknesses that I saw on film for him and how I project him here at the next level. But let's just hop right into it, man, because he is a true junior coming in at 5'11", 195 pounds. At least that's what he was listed at. We'll see what that looks like at the NFL Combine when we get some official testing numbers. But he was a 5-star recruit coming out of high school, the number 13 overall player nationally coming out of high school as well. So a highly, recruited type of player, goes to USC. 5-star wide receiver, everything you want to see from a high school recruiting profile. In 2025, he went out and gave you 79 receptions for 1,156 receiving yards and 11 touchdowns in 12 games played. He was a unanimous All-American in 2025, and he won the Biletnikoff Award, so obviously a great receiver season for him. And this was really his breakout season, even though he has been productive before for the Trojans. Now, when I'm looking at the film, you guys can go check it out in the film room yourself. I strongly encourage you guys to go check out these with your own 2 eyes. I'm telling you guys what I saw today. I watched a total of 5 games. Like I said, it was Illinois, Michigan, Notre Dame, Iowa, and Oregon. These were all ranked opponents that he played here in 2025. I watched all of those games. So I'll tell you what I saw. Let's start it off with the strengths. The strengths for me, this is a player who is elite in that short area quickness. He has some really insane stop-start ability in his route running and just off the line of scrimmage. I think he's outstanding when it comes to that type of stuff. So it does catch defenders off guard sometimes, and it really does feel very sudden in his route running ability when he does get to some of that stop and start ability. So the acceleration, the short area quickness, those are things that I saw with his game, and it helps with some of the bursts that we see in his route running, especially after the catch. Now, he's a player that I would say is quicker than fast, and that's not to say that he's not a fast player, but he feels way more sudden and explosive than he is with some straight line, long speed. We talked about that with Carnell Tate. Carnell Tate gets going with some of the long speed. I feel like Makai Lemon, different type of player, does feel way burstier than a guy like Carnell Tate. I talked about some of the yak ability. He is a high-end yak creator with some creativity and some juice when he does have that football in his hands. He is explosive after the catch. He's very slippery in open space. Defenders have a hard time catching him because he has this ability to sidestep and juke and maneuver his body to get away from some of these defenders, and he's just really hard to bring down. He makes these guys miss an open field, and I think he has a very noticeable second gear when he gets some daylight in the open field as well. So this is a player that I think can flip field position very quickly on those underneath the intermediate routes, all of those things that he's going to be running out of the slot because he is primarily a slot wide receiver. You're going to see him be able to take some of these plays and turn them into chunk plays for your offense, picking up first downs and things like that. So he is a very good yak creator. I think he has advanced slot awareness. He has a good feel for coverage, both for soft spots in the zones, being able to sit down in zones, showing his hands to the quarterback, being able to be there where the quarterback needs him at times. The quarterback play at USC this year was, I wouldn't say bad. It wasn't as good it probably could have been because I did see a lot of stuff on film in some of these games where he was just getting missed. He was open on some of these routes, specifically some of these post routes against the sideline. The ball was coming late or he was just being overthrown. That happened a few times on tape where it was noticeable that the quarterback play could have improved, but he did a good job of making it easier for the quarterback in some of those moments by showing hands, working back towards the football, understanding where he was on the football field, making sure to get his feet in bounds when he's playing against the sideline, have a natural feel for some of the traffic that's along the middle of the field with him as well. So all of these were very good signs of spatial awareness and that advanced slot type of IQ that you want to see out of that wide receiver in that specific role in your offense. Talking about across the middle of the field, very, very competitive wide receiver across the middle of the field, strong hands, has a very dog-like demeanor when it comes to his size and then his playing ability. It doesn't look like it's the same. A guy 5'11", 195 pounds should not be able to just stand there and take hits across the middle the way that Makai Lemon does and come down with some of the catches that he comes with. He's very aggressive at the catch point. He plays bigger than his frame. He's tough across the middle, willing to take contact, has those strong hands, plucks the ball cleanly out of the air. All of these things I really like to see out of a smaller wide receiver. So like I said, plays a lot bigger the contested catch point than his size suggests. Very strong, very reliable wide receiver for his frame. The body control and the spatial awareness are also things that I like. I talked about it against the boundary. He does this all over the place. He does it in the red zone. He does it when he's adjusting to throws. He comes down with some crazy acrobatic catches at times. Like I said, a smaller wide receiver, he goes up and gets them. It's just he maintains balance through the contact in these contested catch situations, and it's very impressive from Makai Lemon. So now I say all of that, and I just talked up how big he plays sometimes. There are some limitations to his game, and there are some weaknesses. There are physical limitations to his game, and it is because of the size and his frame overall and some of the strength that he has in his play. I think he can get bumped and displaced and moved off of some of his routes by bigger physical linebackers, DBs, guys like that, who's going to try and get him off of the route as he's working across the middle of the field. He can get bumped off of those routes every once in a while. I think he struggles against some of these corners and these nickel defenders who do get hands on him a little bit early in the route. Now, it's hard to get hands on him, but you can knock him off if you do. I think the frame does limit his ability to beat press coverage, but he wasn't seeing a lot of it. He is physical against some of those slot corners as well. So I do think he's a player that the frame will show up. I'm interested to see how much it shows up at the next level. As we know, when you get to that level, everybody's a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger, a little bit more handsy. That's just what happens when you get to the league. I'm interested to see how that happens, but a role in which I project him to be at the next level is a primary slot. So he may be able to avoid some of that, especially if he lands with the coaching staff that schemes him away from some of that type of stuff. I do think he has very limited blocking value. He wants to be a blocker. I see the effort at times. I just think he gets a little bit bodied when he's going out trying to run and block downfield. And I think, again, that's kind of because of some of the size and some of the frame with him. So that's really all that I saw. There's a little bit, very rarely, some off the ball effort type of stuff where you could see the effort dip a little bit when he's not going to be the main option, or maybe when he's supposed to be blocking downfield, he's not giving it 100% because that play speed and the play speed when he is the number one target is different at some times. So that's one of the things that I like to see, maybe be a little bit more involved in that snap to snap basis, just to try and make sure that you are still giving it 100% effort at all times. But I get it, man. This is a player who's very electric when he does get the football in his hands. And I don't really want to take any of that away as part of the weaknesses. Now, I will say the yak ability is very elite for him. I do think there's a little bit of a balance that needs to be had in his play style. There's a risk versus reward that I see with some of the yaks. Sometimes he leaves plays on the football field where he could pick up some easier yardage, or maybe, go pick up a couple more yards. But what he does is he goes east to west, and he runs a little bit crazy sometimes east to west, but he moves east to west. And sometimes instead of going north and south and you're getting east to west, you're leaving those yards on the field. So I do see that happen at times. At the same time, though, it's kind of give and take. Like I said, that risk versus reward, because that is also what kind of makes these big chunk plays happen at times, where he's able to kind of make defenders miss and get upfield with these big chunk plays. But on the other side of that coin, sometimes you leave some on the field. So I see that happen sometimes. What I'm going to be projecting him as at the next level is a slot-only wide receiver. This is a player who's going to follow that bucket of player type or that archetype of wide receiver like an Amon-Ra St. Brown. I see a little bit of Jalen Waddle in his game. I see a Jaden Reed in his game as well. I think if I had to give a ceiling, a middle comp, and a floor comp, those would be the guys: Amon-Ra, Jalen Waddle, and Jaden Reed. He's going to win with short area quickness, the burst, the instincts. He's not necessarily a guy who's going to beat you with his size, but I don't think his size is going to be a full-on limitation for him at the next level. I think it's going to depend on how teams are going to scheme him. I think the projected draft capital for him is going to be an early to mid first round NFL pick. And if I had to give you some of the best landing spots that I think would be great fits, maybe the Titans at 4, but I think the Giants at 5 to be the slot. If Wan'Dale Robinson leaves in free agency would be a decent spot. He could go to the Commanders to be with Jaden Daniels. I think the Rams at 13 is a very intriguing spot because they have the luxury of taking multiple picks in the first round. Could they take a slot wide receiver who could be the eventual heir to the throne to Devontae Adams, who's played in the slot before, because Puka can play all over the football field? I think he would thrive in a McVay system. Or could he go to the Panthers or the Steelers at 19 or 21? I think both of them could use a slot wide receiver to complement the X's that they have there in DK Metcalf and Tedero McMillan. So that's kind of what I saw with Makai Lemon. I think he's a very solid wide receiver, dynamic playmaker, guy who's going to be an NFL slot wide receiver day one, a day one starter at this level, and probably a top half of the league type of starter. The floor feels fairly high for him if he can get in the right scheme. But I like what I saw. Overall, still comes in right now. I've made the official switch. Carnell Tate is my wide receiver 2. He's my wide receiver 3 in this class at the moment. Still a lot of good things to take away from it. Like I said, go check it out in the film room. Tell me what you guys are seeing with your own 2 eyes. That's what I saw. I'll see you guys on the next one, though. Until then, peace out.